Hello all, and welcome to tonight's beer review, which I am dubbing the, I don't know, need to go to a doctor beer review. I need to go to a doctor. Been having some health problems lately. And I also need to order some things off of Amazon, which I'm probably going to do before going to the doctor, because impulse control. But what are we going to be reviewing tonight? We are going to be reviewing Samuel Adams Toasted Caramel Bock. This is out of their autumn box set. So, just came out and I'm very happy. So let's read the label, shall we? Molasses is the secret to this lager, and it creates a pleasant sweetness with hints of caramel, brown sugar, vanilla, and maple syrup. The pale and caramel malts merge with the Hirschsprecher and Saaz malts hops to create a delightfully toasted flavor in this Bock. Cheers. So this is 5.6 ABV. Oddly enough, it's notched for January. I'm not sure why it's notched so soon. For these, it's always, well, I guess it's plenty of time. It's been brewed in August, or July, depending. So, 5.6 ABV, not too high. Not really any toasted caramel added to this in the brewing, thank God. I'm getting to be where I don't like those sort of stunt things where really odd things are tossed into the, wort. So, just molasses, which is a fairly tame additive. So, let's go and do this. The only bad thing about Sam Adams box sets is they put too much in there. I'd like to have more than one when reviewing a beer, but you do what you can. I have a fairly big head on this one because I found it receded pretty quickly in the previous one. Fairly dark for a Bock, almost more like a Doppelbock coloration here. But still, light passes through it. Dark reddish brown, I would say. Almost, yeah, say very dark copper. But light still passes through it. Beige head. Quickly receding, by the way. Fairly rich for a Bock, almost like a Doppelbock. It's got a touch of that stewed fruit essence to it, and that I more associate with Doppelbocks. Definitely a hint of burnt sugar in there. Molasses, but not really edging toward caramel. Toasty malts, very toasty smelling the malts. Bit on the sweet side. Fairly interesting head, not overly complex, but more. It actually tilts more to a Doppelbock. Just reading more Doppelbock up here than it is for Bock. I'll let this warm up a little bit. Maybe I should let it stay cold. Very, very sweet. Especially up front, almost, maybe a little bit. No, it fairly clears the palate. It's more toasted malts towards the end, so it does clear. But it almost reaches that line of cloyingly sweet. It does clear the palate. That sweetness does clear the palate. It's mostly in the front. Oddly enough, not really caramel. It tastes more like molasses. Basically, toasty malts, especially towards the finish. Just a very slight hint of bittering hops, kind of overwhelmed by the sweetness of the malts. But enough there in that finish. Actually, the toastiness is throughout. It's just kind of on the top note there. It's above the sweetness that immediately sits on the palate through the start and through the middle. Not overly complex. I have to say I'm fairly pleased at least that they made it so that the sweetness isn't lingering. I really don't like it when I'm drinking a beer and either it's intense sweetness or intense bitterness that lingers on the palate. I'm getting a little bit beyond that at this point. But this one does clear fairly well, so it's somewhat the style in that respect. With lagers, you want cleanness in the finish, and it definitely achieves that. Toasty. No real alcohol, so not really boozy. Not really expecting it to be at 5.4. I mean 5.6. Even though the head's mostly gone, it still has quite a bit of smell there. Oddly enough, even though there's stewed fruits in the nose, not really in the palate or in the taste anywhere. Just not very complex at all, you know. Like I said, for me, it leans more towards a Doppelbock with that sort of toastiness of the malts there. And as for the coloration as well. That said, it could probably fall into the Bock definition. I'm not too much of an expert on German beer styles, so, you know, I'm willing to be corrected on that. But I'd have to say the main thing with this is that at least while it doesn't come across as too much of a gag, it is fairly one-dimensional. You've got your toasted malts there, and you've got the molasses. Slight ghost of hops bitterness, that's it. For a lot of people, I can see this probably being too sweet for their taste. For me, it doesn't reach that threshold. It's decent enough, but like I said, just kind of one-dimensional. So, toasted caramel Bock. Well, it's not bad. It's just a very workmanlike Bock. Well, not really to style as a Bock even, with kind of, you know, one-note flavor going on. It's not horrible to drink, but it's not really exciting, and, you know, I don't know. It's not bad as a gimmick. A lot of gimmicky ones that would call itself as toasted caramel would be, but it's, you know, it doesn't have anything to sort of lend it to push it on more the beyond the territory, so far as I'm concerned. Not really rich, not really complex. So, it's not a drain pour by any means. Enjoy it if you get the Sam Adams fall box set, which I highly recommend. Get all those regular box sets, especially for those of you who are kind of outside widespread distribution areas. Sam Adams and Sierra Nevada and Fat Tire are probably the only things that you can find. So, toasted caramel Bock, That's your beer review for tonight, folks. Prost.